What's it really like living in Fort Walton Beach here? In this video, what we're going to be going through is just talking a bit about Fort Walton Beach. We're here on Okaloosa Island here today, but we're going to go through and talk what it's about. Now, a lot of people talk about the beaches, which I don't blame them, but also talk about the vibe and location and everything else. But we're going to go into the real Fort Walton Beach and what it's like to live here and show you quite a bit what you should be considering when thinking to moving out here or investing in any of these beautiful condos out here. So make sure you follow us around. We're going to go ahead and check that out right now. So some quick notes about Fort Walton Beach here. This is that area that is just going to be west of Destin. So a lot of people think when they're moving down here, they think of Destin, they think of these beaches. Heck, even here in Fort Walton Beach, there is a beach called Destin West, right? A condo that's out here. It's not technically in Destin, but Fort Walton Beach is where most of the people are going to be when they're living out here. Why? Well, because the taxes and cost of living is going to be much less than going over across the way getting into Destin. A lot of people like to come out to this area as well because it's a bit more relaxed. This beach area, it's not as much of the craziness that you're going to get over there in Destin, but you are going to still have access to everything else here, access to going over there, but not having to live in that day to day. We're going to walk through a lot of what that day-to-day operations looks like. I got so much stuff, guys. I always have to have a cheat sheet here. We'll talk about the morning routine and just see what that commute looks like. So let's go check this out. All right, so let's go check out this traffic and check out the commute. A lot of you guys have asked, like, hey, what's the traffic like in peak hours in Fort Walton Beach? Well, it's really gonna depend upon where you are. Let's kind of talk about that, and it's gonna depend on what times are peak hours. Right now, we're coming off of Okaloosa Island. This is going to be going into Fort Walton Beach. Now, at the time that we're shooting this video is right here towards spring, summertime in 2025. I'm going down Santa Rosa Boulevard. This is where all the condos and everything else are at. Typically on Santa Rosa Boulevard, we don't see a whole ton of traffic. It's gonna get up here. I'm sure we'll be stopped at a red light, and we're seeing some bridge construction. We've had to deal with this. Here, let me shoot this around. You know, we've had to deal with this construction, and you can see over there, like they're building the ramp, whatever, and just people cutting you off because they don't know how to stay within their lines. And now you see over here on the right, this is where that new bridge is going in. So this is a 5-year project. I think they're a year into it, but you probably know how government projects go. This could be a minute before they actually finish it. Because of this, the downtown area has a new traffic pattern. With that being said, we get a lot of people not from here, right? But even people from here now are like, well, I don't know which way to go. Is it veering this way? Is it veering that way? And then it's constantly changing. So yeah, like right as we get into Fort Walton Beach, like we are now, this is where a lot of it backs up. And it's because of this bridge. And I always wondered, was there an accident or what happens? And this is even before the bridge construction started. It's just congestion. That's all it is. And you'll sit sometimes, like if you come down during the 4th of July week, like I don't even leave my house. Let's try to get anywhere out of Fort Walton Beach is not fun. So this main part here off of Highway 98 that goes through Fort Walton Beach is as well as it is now, because they're eventually going to build the bypass that goes around the mound on the north side, which will open up this entire downtown area, which I'm about to show you here in a minute. This is where a lot of it gets up, and it will get pretty backed up until you get past Mary Esther Cutoff, but it moves pretty well up into that point. Then there's a school zone. Then after that, you're pretty much good to go until you hit Hurlburt Field. With that, you get base traffic. That's where you're gonna have most of that going west. You're gonna see a lot of that. Anytime between 2:30 until about 6 is when you're gonna see the big backup. So if you're considering, say, living in Navarre and maybe working at the base or something like that, that could potentially cause you some headaches when it comes to traffic. Sometimes too, we'll see some traffic back up on Eglin Parkway that goes north here. For the most part, it moves pretty well because it's 3 lanes on either side. Most of the time, that's usually a safe bet to go up until you get into about Shalimar. And then you'll see some slowdowns. But that's just your normal rush hour traffic that you're going to get there. That's just going to be around your 3 to 6 p.m. The mornings aren't too bad, except for during the season where we are here. This will back up all the way to Beale because it's everybody trying to get down to Okaloosa Island where we started. And then you'll see it's just tough to get in that traffic. A lot of the times, at least being in Fort Walton, you have 3 different ways to get down to the bridge. You'll see that when one's backed up, you can go to another one and it's not so bad. That's the one thing that I do like about Fort Walton is that it has those options. When it goes to commute, what I'm gonna have to say is just, watch what you're doing, really, and just plan accordingly. Waze, Google Maps are usually pretty accurate when it shows you, hey, here's what's going on and when those peak hours are gonna be there. Now, additionally too, when you are traveling around here, it's not really all that bad, mainly because you have a lot of different ways to get around, like I mentioned before. To get to grocery stores, what do we have here in Fort Walton? You've got Winn-Dixie, which is perceivably the lower end of the grocery stores. Publix is the really popular one. We have Aldi's, we have 1 or 2, I think there's about to be 2. And of course you have Walmart. There's not really any great place in comparison to saying going up north or northeast or even out on the West Coast as far as like good fresh produce. If you're trying to find something like that, you may want to Instacart and order from Destin because they do have a fresh foods market and they do have a Whole Foods that's out there. Now, I don't know if the drive is worth it to go out there to get it, but I mean, that's completely up to you and what's important to you and your family. But as far as here, you do have plenty of options. It's not just one. There's at least 2 stores of what I had just mentioned, except for Walmart. There's only 1 of those in the area. So that's pretty good when it comes to shop for groceries. Now for gyms, there's one here downtown. There's one in Uptown Station. There's several of them around. The gyms that you have on Eglin and that you have on Hurlburt Field are pretty good too if you have access to those, if you're a vet or currently in there or spouse, what have you. Whatever way you get on base, right? There's 2 to 3 gyms that are typically open on the installations, which are pretty good. However, the ones through here are decent. You'll get a good mix between just your regular knuckle dragger gyms, as I like to call it, to the CrossFit gyms. There's several around of those as well. You don't see too many of the aerobic ones around here. Matter of fact, I'm trying to think, and I can't even think of one that I can think of that's solely the purpose of that. And for work, being able to transit through here, again, it really just depends. If you're working at Hurlburt Field and you're living in Fort Walton Beach, you have 2 options to be able to get to the base, which is nice because you've got the east gate, which I'm going to call that's not what the base calls it, but it's on the east side of the base. You have that one to be able to get into, and of course the front gate off of 98. Getting into Eglin, you've got a couple of different options as well to be able to get into that gate from Fort Walton Beach. So you can go up Lewis Turner, which is Beale that turns into Lewis Turner, or you can of course just go up Eglin Parkway that gets you to, guess what? Eglin, yes, that's right. So you'll be able to get into the south gate there. Again, they don't call it the south gate. I think they call it the west gate. I don't know why. I don't know what direction makes sense. It's facing south. If you are working here in Fort Walton, if you have to go over the bridge, it can be a little bit tough. If you're working here downtown, which is where we are right now, it can be a little bit challenging as well. Parking isn't always the best here either to get downtown. They've done better. They've opened some more parking. Matter of fact, as we're sitting out here, you can see that we have additional parking that they finally put down here by the landing. Now, the interesting part about all of that, they're actually divvied up for golf carts because you can take your golf cart if you're living in Fort Walton Beach proper and you're not crossing 98, then you can have your golf cart. So Elliott Point, Ferry Park, like all those areas over there off of Brook Street off that way, which is the street here that bends around, you can have your golf cart and have access to this, which is, I think, is pretty awesome. All right. Let's go ahead and walk around a little bit because, I mean, there's just so much to talk about. So let's go do that. Let's talk about the different schools. So you do have access to all the schools here in Fort Walton Beach. You've got 2 high schools. You've got Choctaw and you've got Fort Walton Beach High. And then you've got the applicable middle schools, elementary schools that correspond with those in the same area. It's really up to you where you want to go. I'm not going to tell you which one's going to be better. My best suggestion for you is go on to niche.com or something like that and go ahead and check those out, because those reviews are usually pretty spot on which school that your kid and your family might enjoy the most. And just a quick stop, I'm going to go ahead and pan around. You can see they got little small parking spaces here. That's your golf cart stuff. I just thought that was cool. I want to show you guys it. Childcare is not as bad as I thought it was going to be coming here. I have a 1-year-old, and I'm so thankful that she's finally 1 year old. Try not to get hit by a vehicle over there. It was nice enough. People are nice here. That's one thing I got to say. Like, it's got a bit of that Southern hospitality to it that I love. So people aren't complete jerks here. I'm from New York originally, and people are jerks from there. If you're from New York, you get it. Or the Northeast, in that matter. So trying to find childcare for infants is a bit tough. It's just because the hours that they're gonna have there's only so many you can get into. So if you have an infant, anybody under a year, you're gonna be considering putting into daycare, make sure you go out early to see which spots you can go. One of the cheaper places to go that has a really good reputation out here is gonna be in Cinco Bayou, which is Cinco High School. Now, it is a Christian school. We don't go necessarily to church there, and we still bring our kid over here, our daughter. It's actually really good, especially for the infants, but you can keep them into the school for quite some time into that private school before they're gonna have to go over. Now, this is cool too. This is a public place where you can go out and play pickleball. It's from Beach Weekend, is one of the companies that's been expanding out here. Got a coffee shop, rentals, things like that. And it's kind of cool that that's open to them. Anyway, we'll go more into that here in a bit. But continuing to talk about the schools for daycare, there are actually a bunch of different options to choose from. My best suggestion for you is to search for childcare, Google, whatever search engine, see which ones are going to be out here. Read the reviews and then pick the ones that are going to be best for you. But if you've got kids that are over a year old, it's going to be wildly easier to find daycare and room for them specifically. Let's talk about this. So being here in Fort Walton Beach, right? We're in downtown Fort Walton, and we're going to talk about walkability. I can tell you though, being in Northwest Florida, there's really not a lot of walkability. If you are downtown, it's golf cartability. If you're in a place that will have access to this. But as far as walking around, no, not really. Most of the time, if you're going to try to go do things, there isn't a really good support for public transportation out here. So more than likely, you're going to need your own car or some sort of transport to get around. And because that it is potentially about to rain at any given time because you're here in Florida, not being on a bike or a moped would probably be advantageous. Although it's beautiful today, subject to change at any time for any reason. A couple things that we can talk about is kind of daytime and nighttime activities. So we're gonna head back the other direction, but down here, we're down by the downtown music hall. There's actually a dance studio. I see some people going over there. We've got coasters. There's a lot of bars and things that are down here, which you would anticipate in a beach town like we have here. It's a lot that kind of draws the tourist in. When you're looking at the daytime activities, obviously we're over there at the beach earlier, and that's where the biggest attraction is going out and having a beach day, right? We also have access to the Intercoastal Waterway in Choctaw Bay or Choctawhatchee Bay. Boating, fishing. Those are big things to do here. Of course, if you like to golf, there's plenty of golf courses. Specifically here in Fort Walton, there's one, and it is a public open golf course for Fort Walton Beach, and there's 2 sides that you can go to for that. But other than that, there is shopping down here. There's plenty of restaurants. There's really, really good restaurants down here. As you might imagine, there's pretty good seafood for you to come and hang out with. Downtown here, we're gonna pass it here in a little bit, which we passed earlier. But we also have a brewery that's called Woodfoot down here, which is pretty new. It's got half outdoor, half indoor. Pretty decent pizza, I guess, for New York, so I'm picky. There's plenty of places for shopping. There's some good coffee places down here too. So there's a lot to do to kind of hang out without just hanging out on the beach. But I will say that that's a huge part. The water sports and the beach is the biggest attraction. On the weekends, it's very much similar. However, you will see different festivals and things happening in this area. Now, when I first got here about 10 years ago, there wasn't a whole lot going on. It's actually gotten a lot more active, which is great. Even if it's not here in Fort Walton Beach and the surrounding areas, Destin, which doesn't have that too many now, but San Destin, over there in the resort typically has a lot more stuff going on for it. There was one that was just tacos and tequila back in, I think, May 10th that they have, and it's just on that weekend. Coming up next weekend here in May is a craftathon over here at the Landing, which we're going to walk through here in a minute. And just lots of cool things to just pay attention to come down and really expand and come out for the community. There's a ton of stuff for you guys to do, have a good time for the family. Now here's something cool too that you may not know. So actually over here, this is the Landing, this is the park, okay? Now we have summers over at the Landing, and it's summer concert series. So they're actually building out this entire place over here. Let me just pan over this, okay? They're actually building out all the different part of this park over here. And there's going to be like a little mini amphitheater that they're putting in over here for the concert series. And it's free to the public, right? And they also will do fireworks every Friday. So come out on Friday, bring the kids, bring the dog, or dogs, depending. And just come out here and hang out. These are just free things that they're doing for the public, not to include all the other festivals that are happening. So it's really cool to hang out around here. Now, one thing to keep in mind too, guys, is that if you're starting to picture yourself here, right, wondering if this is the lifestyle for you, maybe it meets your budget, maybe it doesn't, this is a great time to give myself, and you'll talk to me, or anybody here on my team, to see what we can do to help you out and to see if this might be a right fit for you. So give us a call, text, email, whatever you need to, and we'll see if this is the right move for you. Next thing that we talk about too is what's happening on the evenings and weekends for the life. Sounds pretty fun over there. All right, but people ask me too, hey, Tim, what do people do after work here? A lot of times too, especially during the week, there's going to be like happy hour specials that we saw over there. There's different dining options too that you can see. There's walks on the beach. I mean, whatever that you want to go do. There's plenty of different things for people to go out for. There is a movie theater that's out here if you want to get out of the sun, but there's a lot of stuff to do outside. Definitely be taking a look at those for different activities here. We also have family-friendly activities in Fort Walton that we've already talked about, and the nightlife for the adults, right? There's actually a pretty good mix of all these things that are out here, to be quite honest. You'll see behind me, we do have one of the parks. There's many parks over here. Liza Jackson Park's another one. This is the Landing that we're seeing over here to go out and for the kiddos to go to. There's actually a lot of just random little parks that you'll find, even just being around the neighborhood that you end up in. Plenty of stuff, again, for the kids to go out and do, to interact, things like that. As far as the nightlife, Fort Walton Beach is okay. It's got a few bars. It does have it doesn't really have a nightclub anymore, but it does have a place that has 3 bars in it. They've got a karaoke bar, they've got a country bar with line dancing, and there's a hip hop bar in there, and it's called The Block, all right? They also do have comedy shows and other things like that, typically throughout the week, and then it just kind of turns into whatever it is that it turns into on the weekend. I've frequented a couple of times, not really my style anymore, but if it is for you, I mean, all for it, have at it. But that's what we've got down here. There's a few decent bars here. There's a couple of different breweries now. There's a ton of different things to go and engage in now in Fort Walton Beach. However, that's not the only places for you guys to go, okay? All right, when it comes to different nightlife, if you're willing to really do it, heading down and going into Destin might be the best place. That's where all the other tourists are going to be going. That's where you're going to get a lot of the nightlife. There is Coyote Ugly. You've got a bunch of different bars, restaurants. down there. One of my favorite places to go is the Red Door. There's a ton of different bars and places to go out there in Destin if you really want that experience. Or just have the traffic, I guess, you know? There's a lot of different things for you to do. So when you kind of think about the local culture and community fit for this area, what's the vibe? Now, I'll say that there's different areas here that you're gonna find the vibe that you're looking for. There's actually some pretty good church communities in here, depending upon what your lifestyle is like, if you wanna get into that. There's a nice retiree community that's down here that's, you know, you might find walking down Fort Walton Beach. There's different places to go hang out. Because of the two different military bases that are here, you got a lot of retirees that just end up here. That's a community. And also for young professionals. I know when I first moved here, I was struggling with this, and to see, hey, is this gonna be a place that I wanna hang out with? Now, is it ideal? To be quite honest, I'll say maybe not, depending upon what you're looking for. But if you're looking for a more relaxed beach town, you like some variety of people because of the military installation, there's always a variety of people coming through. Man, sweating it up here. There's always a different variety of people and opportunity to make new friends throughout here. It's actually not that bad for young professionals. There's a lot of opportunity as this is a growing town out here and you're looking to open a business. There's plenty of opportunities as this bridge unfolds here. When they redo everything, commerce is coming back down to here to Fort Walton Beach. So lots of opportunities for that. We're just gonna venture over here to the landing for a last little peek at what we've got. So let's run over here. All right, guys, so I have some great look over here for the landing. This is under construction, but hopefully this is gonna be finished out soon. So this area too is where they put in a big Christmas tree for the Christmas time. As I mentioned before, you've got the park that's over here and access to everything else that you wanna walk to downtown. Nice green space. And even though, as you look over here, you're like, man, there's a lot of stuff that's cut off. All this area down here where you're seeing the temporary fence. So they're redoing a lot of the docks that are down here, so there'll be more places to park your boat. Matter of fact, you want to go anchor out and watch those Friday night concerts. It'll be right down here. You see that big building they're putting there? That's going to be where they're going to have the stage, and then there'll be a lot more seating and places for us to go and hang out and actually get a good view of what's happening. Super excited to get this done. Again, if you've got a boat or just want to come hang out, you want to be the golf cart person, this is the place to go. So there's just tons of opportunity. You're going to see splash pads. There's a lot of developments that are happening here in Fort Walton, and it's going to be a good community for now and for years to come. So if you got any questions about Fort Walton Beach, want to see some houses, condos, check out the videos coming up here at the end of this video. They'll give you some suggestions. Check out our channel. You make sure to like, subscribe these things, because it's going to get you so much information. There's hundreds of videos, not just here in Fort Walton, but for the entire Emerald Coast, for things that you should know prior to moving here. But guys, make sure that you message me with any sort of questions that you have, whether you're considering moving here, need some help with that, we've got you. Set up a one-on-one with me, or just simply give me a call, text, or email, and we got you covered. So make sure, once again, before you go, check out some of these awesome videos coming up next.